Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, morning, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Marva B. I am the owner and founder of Black Link Magazine, and this is the Black Link Experience. I'm so excited to welcome our special guest, Mark, here today with us. Mark, welcome to the Black Link Experience.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. Go ahead, Mark, and tell the world who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Mark Byron Dallas, and I am a dialect coach, which basically means I help actors and other professionals to sound like other people.
Mark, I want to talk about your journey in this business and in this industry and
Yeah.
how you got, what inspired you to do dialect.
Okay, so first of all, I need to pull you up on that word that you used, which is normal. So
Okay.
because there's no such thing as normal.
Okay.
Basically, normal, whatever you're talking about, when you use the that adjective normal, it means, oh, whatever I consider to be acceptable, whatever I consider to be usual, whatever I am familiar with. So whenever somebody uses that term normal,
Uh-huh.
it's subjective, it's not objective.
Okay.
So, and that goes for anything in
Okay.
terms of not
Okay.
just dialect coaching, but so when you say teaching people to sound normal, there is no such thing. Okay. So everybody sounds different. Okay. So every person has their own way of talking, first of all.
Okay.
So you could be the identical twin of, somebody else, right? Or, triplets, whatever. Those twins are going to sound different somehow. And whether it's their voice or their phrasing or whatever. And the way that an individual speaks is called their idiolect.
Okay.
And and so that's the thing. And then of course, that's basically the grammar and the vocabulary that we use. Those might be different, but we're speaking the same language, right? And then accents, obviously, we have different accents because, my accent is made up from all the places that I've lived in throughout my lifetime. You can probably tell that most of those places were in England. And there's just a hint of Canadian because I've lived in Toronto for almost 20 years. And from you, all of that is your journey, like where you're from, where you were brought up, and the people you spoke to and associated with, and so on. Sorry, very long answer there, but
Right, right. No, that was good. And so what drew your attention to like being an expert in this and helping like actresses to get roles if they can use a different accent, I guess.
mhm. Yes, absolutely. So it's it's a long journey. I mean, there's no short answer to this,
Okay.
really. So I hope you're ready.
Yes.
You ready? Okay. So actually, I didn't start out as a dialect coach. I don't think anybody actually grows up to be, or I don't think any child says, "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be a dialect coach." I don't think
So,
I don't think anybody
can't even
ever
say
says
it.
that. Yeah, I don't think anyone says that, but it's funny because different dialect coaches end up doing what they do because of a combination of things. Some of them come to it through being in the theater or being an actor of some kind. Others may have gone through the voice school route. So I don't know if you say route, I say route, but there you go. Tomato, tomato. Um, but so there's the voice route. So some people are voice coaches, and then there are others that come through it from a linguistics direction.
Mhm.
For me, I was always interested in languages and accents from when I was a small child.
Mm.
So I grew up with a mom from Birmingham. So I grew up with a Brummie mom. Brummie means somebody from Birmingham. She had a Birmingham accent, sounds like this, right? So
Right.
she had a very broad accent when she spoke. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Peaky Blinders, but that show, Peaky Blinders, all the actors on there are trying to do a Birmingham accent because the show is set 100 years ago in Birmingham, right? And, more or less they get it, close, right? I grew up, my dad was from Glasgow in Scotland. So he had lived in England for quite a long time by the time I was born. So his accent had been watered down a little bit, but as soon as people like his family came down from Glasgow, then you'd hear it all come out and some of the dialect stuff as well and the words that he'd use, and I'd have to have a translation, right? So I grew up in that kind of, a household where, there were different voices, different accents. And I grew up in a city, like I said, Birmingham is a multicultural city where there are people that, after the Second World War came from the West Indies, Jamaica. There are people that came over from Pakistan. When I grew up in the 70s, that by that time, recording technology was just becoming accessible. So as soon as we could afford to buy like a tape recorder, there is me like hitting record and making up, stories in silly voices and so on. So that's where my interest peaked. And I didn't go straight into studying linguistics or anything about languages when I left school, because as a working class kid in Birmingham, you've never heard of linguistics. You did, if you're going to go to college, you do something else like linguistics. I'd never heard of until I was well into my 20s. So I ended up like going to college to be a graphic designer because I was good at drawing. And so like I was advised, go to college and, do graphics. So that's what I did. And I started to be a graphic designer. And that was my first career. And I eventually got a job at BBC Television. To cut a long story short, I got an interview in London and I ended up working at BBC TV for a few years. And it was during that time that I realized that I could use this talent and make money out of it to put on accents and so on. And throughout this time, ever since I was a kid, I was always interested in drama and, the theater and stuff. So I was doing like mainly like amateur productions and sort of keeping that simmering. So all of that kind of came to a head really when I was working at the BBC, because I was called upon to, do voices for certain things that an editor wanted for a particular region, and they didn't have somebody on the shift that at that time at night that had the accent. So I was like, okay, yeah, I could do you a Belfast accent. Yeah, sure. And they're like, yeah, go on then. So I do it, and I was like, so the troubles here have been quite a problem, and I've had a lot of letters about this, and they're like, oh yeah, that was really good. That was really good. Okay, so can you do this accent? So I'd be called upon every now and then to do this thing, and it was a lot of fun. And also, I had friends that were from other countries that wanted to improve their English, so I ended up tutoring them. Right. And we would do like language exchanges where they would help me improve my Spanish. I'd help them improve their English. And so all that time I was picking up their accents too. And then when I eventually emigrated to Canada, I ended up finding myself in a position of looking for work. And at the time, I couldn't find any full-time stuff as a graphic designer. So I ended up retraining and becoming an ESL teacher, a teacher of English as a second language.
Oh, wow.
And I never looked back. It was so much fun teaching people. And so for, more than 10 years, I was teaching people from Korea, Japan, Brazil, different countries in Europe, they're from all over. And at the same time I'm teaching them, I'm learning about their languages, how they sound and everything. And so on the side, I'm tutoring people. I got friends who are working as actors. Every now and then they're asking me, oh, could you help me with this accent? And then it took a while for me to realize that, I could actually I could actually earn money out of this.
Yeah.
and and so yeah, I tried. I did that, and what happened was I found myself in a job in that same school where I was working in management, and that was not so much fun. It wasn't creative for me. I wasn't in direct contact with full classes of students. I was helping teachers improve how they taught the language, and it was like, okay, no, this is not what I was meant to be doing. I've gone off my path now. And so what happened then was COVID happened. And so when that happened, I found the school basically didn't need all these management people. And they got back to me and said, well, I'm sorry, Mark, but your position is no longer tenable.
Yeah.
And I had to really contain myself from yelling, yes, I'm free. So it was amazing. It was like, yes, oh, wow. I can finally do what I really, really want to do, and start helping people with accents, either in, I don't want to say improving accents, because that's not my approach, but acquiring different ways of speaking, whether that's for their work or, like in a professional setting, or as an actor. And I've never looked back since. And now I do that as my full-time business. And that's the company there, Talk Like That.
That is so interesting. Talk Like That. And again, when I was listening to the broadcast, it were like, there are not a lot of people, not a lot of dialect coaches. And so that's why you don't hear about them. And so how do you get connected in the business? Because it really is very helpful for say an actress or actor to want to get a certain role, but have to portray this certain person that speaks with this accent or that accent. Is it difficult or not to teach me to have an accent like you?
So I think that's a really interesting question, because whether it's difficult for you or whether it's difficult for me, that's the other thing. And the answer really depends. The truth of that really depends on so many different factors, right? And of course, this question is in the mind of every actor that approaches me and says, okay, I need this accent and I need it by this time, on this date. Can you do it? And it's like, and I'm very reticent to say, oh yeah, absolutely, because it depends on so many different things, right?
Yeah.
Like,
interesting.
Yeah. For example, the first thing is and I get this question all the time, like, how long does it take to learn an accent? It really does depend on the target accent that you're trying to learn. Like, for example, if you came to me and said, oh, I'd like to learn, because you said I'd like to learn how to talk with your accent, like my accent, which first of all, I would ask you why. Like, why would you want to talk with my accent? Like, are you going for a role as a middle-aged white man from England living in Canada? And I would think that you're not, right?
Right. So, I'm just interested, Mark. I'm just interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. Yeah. I'm just playing with you, but but what I mean is that first of all, you need to find out what it is that it is for. What are they learning that accent for? Is it just because they like that accent, or is it actually for a particular role? And then if it is for a particular role, you need them to tell you as much as they know and about that character. You also need to know whether it is for an audition, or whether it's for a part that they already have booked. So, and again, there's no simple answer to this. Like, is it difficult? Yes, it can be, right? That's my politician answer. So really, you just have to take the measurement. you have to, like, how long does it take to learn an accent? How long is a piece of string? It's like, it depends on
Wow.
where you are
Yeah.
and where the accent is at, right? It's like the distance between that. So if I was going to teach you, let's say, I don't know, I was going to teach you a London accent, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I would have to, first of all, find out like how good your London accent is already, right? And I'm not going to put you on the spot and get you to do it because that would be unfair. But this is what I would do in a one-to-one coaching
Okay.
session, find out what you already have.
Okay.
And then from that, I would get an understanding of the kinds of work, the sort of work that we'd have to do in terms of the speech sounds, the rhythm, the intonation,
That's
the
great.
melody, all
Really.
of those things. There is so many different layers that make up an accent. I'd have to find out, do you already have a script? Because if you've got a script to work with, then we can go through that and see
Right.
and listening to what how they're saying it and giving them hints and notes on like, okay, you need to tweak this. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
So it's complex, but I try to make it as simple for people as possible, um, from their understanding, because they know a lot more about acting in front of the camera
Yeah.
than I do, whereas I'll know a lot more about what's happening inside here in this invisible space to make that sound come out.
You
Yeah.
make me want to do, I just want to do another accent because I want to go through the process. It's just crazy. I knew this was going to be interesting to me. I knew it was. So,
Well, the thing is, you probably already have another accent because most people do have a kind of a continuum, like a kind of a
yeah.
like their accent can like switch,
Yeah.
right? And also their dialect. So I mean, for example, where did you grow up?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Oh, wow. All right. So you grew up in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that like when are you in Oklahoma now?
Yes.
Okay. And do all your friends talk like you in Oklahoma?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And but I would say
But
that
I've
when
been places. I've been lived in different places.
right. So you lived in different places, and then when you go to those different places, do you talk exactly the same as you would when you're back in Oklahoma, or do you like slightly adjust it?
I talk like I do in Oklahoma, but I tell
Hmm.
you what I do. I have a 12-year-old
Yeah.
that like I know she's not a white male with a London accent, but she talks like that. She can make herself talk like that. So
Yeah.
when she does that, it makes me try to do it. So
Right.
we've done it, but we don't know if we're
Yes.
doing it right, right?
Yeah. It's playing. That's the thing, and it is playing, and that's what children are really good at. Children are
She's
they
amazing.
are they're experts at playing,
It's
and
almost like she had Mark Dallas to come and show her how to do it. I'm like, how are you doing to teach mama how to do that?
yeah,
She's
well,
good
this is
at
the
it.
thing. This is the thing. When you're a kid, I mean, this is the thing. As you get older, you don't actually. I mean, studies have been done to prove that your brain does not slow down in terms of learning. Like
Uh-huh.
your brain remains quite plastic. Your brain is still functioning. As you get older, you can still learn stuff. The
Yeah.
thing is, though, when you're no longer a child, you've got more responsibilities. You're thinking about, oh my God, I've got to think about dinner. I've got to think about this. I've got to pay the mortgage on time. I've got to do that. So you've got all of these extra things in your head that you've got to have space for. And then you've got these other things you got to learn, right? When you're a
Right.
kid,
That's
all you worried about is like, being bored, or like, I'm
that's the big
hungry,
one.
I want mommy, I want some food.
That's it.
So they've got all the rest of that. It's like the mind's a big playground. And this is the thing, finding the space to play, a space that is safe. I mean, mentally, right? That
Yeah.
is safe, that you don't worry that someone's going to judge you and go, oh my God, what do you call that? Is that you're
Right.
trying to do a accent?
Right.
Because with a dialect coach is not going to do that. They're going to see where you are, make adjustments to make you sound more authentic, make you sound like the target you're going for. So yeah, she's a kid, She's playing and she's getting it.
You
So
you would be amazed, Mark. I think if you heard her, I'm like, where did it even come from? Because I never knew she could do it. So
yeah.
anyway,
So how old is she?
she's 12.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think we talked about this on Clubhouse, right? I think
Maybe,
you told.
maybe so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You told me about this. That's right. And I
Yeah.
told you about the Peppa Pig effect.
Oh, yeah.
I think I mentioned the Peppa Pig effect, which is like so many American kids and Canadian kids too watching the British show Peppa Pig, and their kids
Yes.
then talking to their moms in a like
Yes.
an English accent.
Yes.
Mommy, what's for dinner? What was that coming out of your mouth? And then it's just because they picked it up, and then it's coming out. It's a process, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, kids are amazing, right?
Wow, very amazing. I love what you do. Like your job, I would want to do it if I knew what I was doing. That's how interested I am in it. At what point did you start pitching that I am a dialect coach? You can come to me, I can help you. Like, how does that work?
That's another great question, because it's at what point do you then start to, feel that you have agency in yourself? At what point do you have that
Yeah.
uh, confidence to
Take
say,
confidence.
this is what I am and this is what I do? And my answer to that would be really very quite recently. Very recently. I would say that once I'd made the decision that I was going to go hell for leather and invest all my time and effort into this as something that I need to do,
Mhm.
something that I feel that I was destined to do, right?
Mhm.
At that point, I guess that would have been probably more than a year ago, less than two. That
Really?
would have, yeah. So quite recently was when I decided to actually put it out there. I mean, the thing is, I was already doing it,
Yeah,
right? But I wasn't advertising it. It
right.
was just something that I did with friends, and
Right.
something that people would say, "Oh, this guy does this. He could help you with that."
Right.
So it was at that point, really, it was the COVID era, the beginning of that, when I had that epiphany that it's like,
Amazing.
okay, this is your time. And if you don't get to it and really seriously put everything you have into this,
You'll miss
you're
it.
never going to do it,
Yeah, you'll
you
miss
know? And that's it. I've not looked back
it.
since.
A lot of people talk about during COVID that their whole career shifted. It was something totally different. They found another talent within themselves. And now that's what they're doing, and they're thriving in that way. So COVID, while COVID is something very unwelcomed, a lot of people took advantage of that time to really dig deep and say, what is it that I really do?
Yeah.
So with that, have you worked with any big names in the business, or are you just at a level where just really you're taking whoever has something going on that needs your work, or are you doing both?
I would say that, okay, when it comes to big names, that is something that I see in my future.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
it is, but it's not my goal,
Right.
right? It's not something that is like, oh, I really want to work with the greats, because as far as I'm concerned, the people I work with they are great.
That's
They're
what I say.
amazing.
That's what I say.
And this is the thing. They humble me and they amaze me. They blow my mind every time, because yeah, and it just makes me feel like, to see how they progress as well, that really is affirmation for me that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. This is your thing. Now, when it comes to, like, I mean, it's a fair question. A lot of dialect coaches, they do get asked that, like, oh, what are some of the big names? What moves have you worked on, and so on. But for me, that will come. That
Yeah.
will come with everything else.
Yeah.
So, and if that's in my destiny, that's great. That
Well,
will come along when it's ready.
absolutely.
But for now, it's like the people I'm working with, like, it's like with anything to do with the film industry or theater
Yeah.
acting, um as the more you do it, the better you get at it.
That's right.
And
That's fair.
and this is yeah. So that would be my answer to that.
That's awesome.
I mean, if there are any big names out there, give me a call. I'm ready. Well, I might turn them down if they're a bit cheap, because you know, man's gotta eat, right? So,
Yeah, eat. Everybody got to eat. That's right. Mark, I really enjoyed this conversation. I like what you're doing, and I'm thankful that you accepted to come on here.
thank you.
I can't wait to get it edited and all ready to get out for the people to hear about that, because again, we don't hear about dialect coaches a lot. And it's crazy that I had saw those two. It was either a woman and a gentleman or two women, but for sure there was a woman, and they were dialect coaches, and they were working with people, and then like they would give you snippets, and the lady that came there with, say, my accent began talking like, you know, with, say, your accent. And the thing about, she was showing how you have to, you know, put your mouth, or you know, how you had to hold your mouth, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was just interesting that that thing can happen. So thank you, Mark, for sharing. I support you. I will follow you. I will have my people follow you. And we just look forward to you, you know, seeing you at the top, because you got something going on there.
Thank you. It's inspiring. Yeah. And yeah, maybe I'll have to interview you next on my podcast.
That'll be amazing. So again, thank you. Go ahead, Mark, and tell the people where they can find you on all social media sites.
Okay, so yeah, I'm on Instagram. I believe it's at talk_like_that. And I'm also on Facebook as well. So if you do a search for Talk Like That, I also have a private group for any actors or book narrators, voiceover artists, that kind of thing. So there's the Talk Like That Facebook group. Sometimes I'll come up on Clubhouse. So at Talk Like That is my Clubhouse handle. And I'm also on YouTube. So if you want to check out some of my YouTube stuff, I got some pretty crazy videos on there. You can just go to j.mp/TLTYT. That's the quickest way to get through to my YouTube channel. I don't spend anywhere near as much time as I should do on Clubhouse. Yeah. It's hard to kind of like find the time to do all the things that you want to do. And it's like, you know, you end up like, what do you call it? Sort of treading water just to kind of like do your day-to-day stuff. But yeah, Clubhouse is one thing I want to sort of do more of. And it's a great way to connect with people. And evidently.
Yeah, obviously, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
So anyway, again, thank you, you guys. We're going to go for now. Remember, go and support Mark. Go find him on all social media sites. Let's support one another. It's very important. And let's build relationships and networking capabilities. So in the meantime, and while we're leaving and while we're gone, remember to respect yourself, respect each other. God bless.